think you're right about that. And it is amazing, though. I remember Labor Day weekend in the Cleveland area, and it was like that weekend leaves started falling off the trees.
Yeah, for
Like
sure.
what? How could that even be? It's so crazy.
Right. All right, dude, let's get it. I wanted to mention one thing as I was talking about the weather. Lisa said to me, your last podcast, you guys talked about the weather for about 10 minutes. And
we should stop talking about the weather so much, but it's so fun.
Yes.
But it's let's talk about it just a little bit more. Because it is so hot here. We've been trying to figure out like what do we do? I mean, you go outside and you burn up. And I learned about the Salt River. Here in Phoenix, we actually have a beautiful river called the Salt River that
I didn't know this.
I guess I'd heard it, but it seemed so outrageous to me that there would be a river through the desert. And then what kind of river could that be? It's beautiful.
A creek.
So this river is attached to a reservoir, and it's a big one. And this water that's coming out of the dam, it starts the river, and that water is coming out of there at about 55 degrees. And so the whole valley where the river is cools down as a result. So there's all kinds of activities on this river, like tubing and kayaking. So I was looking in, Anne Marie and I on our anniversary, or actually one of the things we did on when we first got married was we went tubing down the Guadalupe in Texas. So it was like, let's go tubing down this river. That'd be so fun. It's kind of like, and it's our anniversary this weekend too. So it's kind of like, this is like our thing. Let's do this. So instead of going tubing, though, we went kayaking. We rented two kayaks.
I love kayaking.
Only done it once before. The 2-man kayak, me and Brandon.
Lisa and I did that a couple years ago.
Didn't go so well on the 2-man. Anyhow,
really?
but because we sucked.
Well, with Lisa and I, it was just me doing.
I got
you. Just.
Well,
like her gondola.
Neither one of us had been in one, and I put Brandon in the back, not realizing he's the steering guy now. Well, we crashed into the deck right away, almost tipped over. We were in Alaska, freezing cold water came in there. It was like, it was crazy. Anyway, these kayaks that you can rent are like 1-man kayaks. They're like
I love them,
like the hard plastic.
They're
so easy to maneuver.
Fun. Yes.
Really fun. Okay, so this river is spectacular. There's cliff sides that you're passing. You're going through. Like,
you're talking about the Salt River?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
It's amazing. It's like you're going through this odyssey. The river is going about 5 miles per hour, so you hardly have to do anything to meander down here. It's wide. It's crystal clear water. It's nice and cool. You stay cool down there. Even though it was 105 that day, it felt like it was probably about 80 degrees down there, maybe a little warmer, but with all that water and everything, it's super cool. Wild horses, Barry. Wild horses, man. I mean, I can't even believe that we have that here in Arizona. I thought that was a myth. But beautiful time, beautiful place to go. Salt River. If you're on vacation coming out to Phoenix, that's a great thing to do. It costs about $50. They come and pick you up at the end. They do the whole 9 yards. It's really cool.
That's a steal right there. $50. I want to tell you guys,
2.5 hours. 2.5 hours.
Search images on that. It is unbelievably gorgeous. And I pulled a few up just a second ago, but once again, we had a connection problem, so I'm not going to go back to it. I am telling you, there's the wild horses, the whole thing. The pictures are amazing. I would love to do that. Did you say
that's what we should do when you come and visit? Let's do that.
That's a really good idea.
Yep.
Did you say it took 2 hours?
2.5 hours. We
that's wonderful. Everything about
it. And there were rapids that you get to go down. It was thrilling and serene. It was an odyssey. Very cool.
It's a real river. I thought it'd be a creek. Huh.
Same. I had no idea.
Nice. All right, buddy.
And a lot of people were down there. I guess that's where everyone's going when it's hot.
Oh, I bet. That's a great way to beat the heat. All right. You said that you had a couple things in the upfront part. I have no idea what they are. Take it away.
I just wanted to talk about the fact that dental care, very important. Again, over 50 starting over.
Yeah.
I just had a dental appointment yesterday, but there's 5 benefits I wanted to talk about.
Okay.
Here we are over 50 starting over, but this is important, you guys, going regularly. And who likes do it? Do you like, I hate
I do
going.
not go regularly.
I didn't go regularly all my life. My mom was a dental hygienist,
Yeah.
and as a result, I've had a little bit of PTSD as a
You were
result.
always
Because
experimented on. I
yes,
know.
yes, exactly. But here
Uh,
are the 5. Early detection of dental problems. Regular dental checkups allow your dentist to detect any dental problems early on before they become more serious issues. Barry, the thing is that they were telling me in there that there are some things that can be connected to other things like heart disease,
yes.
gingivitis, and heart disease are things that you don't want to mess around with. And so it's not just cavities that we're looking at, and it is important to do that,
No,
especially. Go ahead.
I just want to back that up. I've had several clients, dental related clients, and I've done a lot of blogging, creating the blogs for them. And I learned a lot in that process. And the one thing is how what we don't know, that just putting a cap on what you just said is underlining it, is that our dental health leads directly to other things. Like you said, gingivitis, I think everybody knows, but there are heart related issues as well. So if you do not take good care of your teeth, know that it could lead to other more serious problems that could
Uh,
get you in the
this
hospital.
this is true, and this is why we want to go regularly. Every people typically go every 6 months, but if you have some issues, you might want to go more, and that's going to be between you and your dentist. But number 2 is preventative dental care. Preventative dental care is a critical component of
Yeah.
maintaining good oral health.
Yeah.
Um, 3, education on oral health. I was in there yesterday, and they were teaching me about the water pick.
Mm.
I'm like, the water pick, is
It
that really?
seems like a mess to me, though.
It's so funny you're saying that because the first
I've
off,
never used one.
I'd never used one either. And the dentist was actually spent time with me. He's a really great Dr. Tobias, great guy. He was showing me a video of somebody using the water pick, and they got it in their mouth, and water's going all over the place,
Right.
And
Right.
he's like, okay, that's the wrong way to use the water pick. And I'm like, and he goes, what do you think she's doing wrong? I'm like, I don't know, Doc, but I would have to say it looks like she's got her mouth open. He's like, that's right. Well, you don't have to have your mouth open while you're doing
I
this.
can't
Mouth
imagine.
closed, and
How
it's
do you
almost,
do it?
I don't know. I haven't tried it yet, but he said that's the thing is keep your mouth closed. When your mouth starts to fill up with water, just spit it out in the sink, and just you don't have to have it go everywhere.
I guess I just watch a 1 minute YouTube video on that and figure that out because right now
He,
I
he
don't see how you do it with your mouth closed.
Well, I don't know. I guess you'd have to try it, but he did show me a video, and it looked like, wow, there's a lot of stuff. It was one of those AI videos, but it did look like, hey, there's a lot of stuff loosening up right around the gum line here, and maybe that's a good
Uh,
idea.
it
It was
is.
interesting. He showed me one. It was like $56, and he's like, this is actually gonna help you out here, getting in between all those areas and
That's a
everything.
good. I'll
That's
say
that.
this. I had for years I had a sonic toothbrush and
Uh-huh.
battery charged, so cordless. That's what I wanted to say. So you just put it on this little stand, it charges up, and you only have to do that like once a month. But my teeth never felt so clean. You know how when you get out of the hygienist chair after they
Yes.
do all of that, and man, I love when they polish.
Oh
Oh, I
yeah.
love that. First of
It's
all,
like you have a
it
new
feels
mouth.
good. It
Yeah.
feels like a massage for your teeth after they
Ah,
just
yeah.
attacked your gums. Um, but that's how you know the feeling, like it never felt cleaner. That's how the
Yes.
sonic toothbrush felt. And I brushed the crap out of my teeth. Anyways, after some years when it finally died, I never replaced it. That was about 2 years ago. And you're making me think about it. I just need to get on Amazon and buy another because
Yeah,
I
I hear
loved
those
it.
are really good too. Yeah,
I loved it.
it's a great feeling having your teeth all clean and everything like
Really
that.
clean. Yeah.
4 and 5, overall improved overall health and increased confidence. That's a big one. Increased
Uh,
confidence. You're going to a big meeting or whatever. You
uh,
don't want to have some stuff in the bottom of your teeth or some of that stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like it
I
just like
think that
what
one's
you're
a reach.
saying. Well,
Oh,
well, here I don't know. I wouldn't say that
mm,
because for me, I like here I am. I'm where we are on the video. I'm
mm,
I'm constantly getting in front of people and I like it when my teeth feel clean. When
mm,
I feel clean, I feel confident.
yeah.
Just like what you were saying with the
Mhm.
sonic care
Yeah.
is when you feel confident. You feel confident with your smile. A lot of people, not me, but a lot of people have a hard time smiling because they're so self-conscious of their
You
teeth.
know what, dude? That's a really important point. So I had very big almond shaped teeth. I
You have
probably
great looking teeth. Are you kidding
thank
me?
thank you, dude. I probably talked about this on the podcast before in our 5 year tenure, but my parents never got me braces. My teeth were very crooked, especially up
Right,
top here.
right.
And so when I got out of college and my first big job, I got myself braces. And
I remember that.
right. And I got the clear kind. Now, today they have
Yeah.
Invisalign. So you got no excuse. Invisalign is the way to go. But I had these clear things put on there. And I'm going to try to make a long story short. I went through a few orthodontists, and most were saying, oh, we're immediately going to extract two here and two
Oh
there. You
my
got
God.
too many teeth. They're too big and they're almond
Yeah.
shaped. And being almond shaped, they couldn't just line up so well and all that. But the last orthodontist, who had bad teeth, I must say, um,
Interesting.
said, "Oh, we're not going to pull anything right away. We'll start out slow. We'll spread them out. We'll see where we're at." I liked the sound of all that, so I went with him. Well, by the end of it, I mean, halfway through, I'm like, "Well, what about extracting those?" Oh, no, we're not going to do that. Anyways, after 2.5 years of wearing these braces, I had this jutting bite because he did pull my teeth way out so that my big almond shaped teeth would all fit side by side. Anyways, I took matters into my own hands as I do. And after I was done with him, believe me, I was way done with him. And I got my retainer, that kind of crap. And I went home and decided I heard about people being able to shape teeth. I asked him about it. Oh, we're not going to do that. So I started. This is me. I'm so weird.
Oh my God. Did you file your teeth?
I did. And I over about a 6 month period, I took strips of sandpaper. I cut them very like I was flossing with sandpaper, and I shaped
Yeah.
my teeth. And I took my retainer, and I would slowly I would look at my teeth through a mirror and see how they were lining up. And I would take my
Wow.
retainer and file it so that it brought my teeth in. My teeth are like this today because of me.
Because you did that.
I
Wow.
brought in my teeth so
Okay.
I didn't have the jutting overbite anymore, the whole
Yeah.
9 yards.
You
Yep,
did that.
I did that. Yes.
Wow. Okay. I don't recommend people do this,
Oh
but
God, don't do that. Don't
Barry,
take that.
okay, Barry, okay, in college, Barry would do surgery on himself with
Oh
an
yeah.
X-Acto knife.
Yes. I had warts, as I recall, on my
Yes,
arm, and I would cut
yes.
them off. Oh, they would bleed like crazy.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
but you
don't do
would
that
you'd
either.
you'd freeze those things with
Oh
something or other.
yes.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was
yeah,
like,
yeah. You
what
take a
are you
air
doing?
canister, like,
Right.
and turn it upside down, and Freon comes out. That's what they use
That's
in a
it.
doctor's office.
Right, right. You're Dr.
Oh,
Edwards.
yeah. Then I've done all kinds of crazy
All right.
stuff.
So
Oh,
have you
dude,
ever
okay, just quickly. I'm not even going to tell you how to do this because I don't want people doing it. I get rid of my own age spots off of me.
age spots? What
Uh-huh.
what okay.
See,
I don't
I don't want to tell you guys because people will do it, and just go to the doctor, have them do it.
oh well, you're
I'll
very
tell you.
youthful
I'll tell you
looking
off
though.
camera. I'll tell you off camera.
That is crazy, man. All
Yeah.
right, so there's a couple more things on the dentist. You ever I mean, there's things that happen over there. Now the fluoride's a big deal, so they tell you,
Yeah.
fluoride, do you want the fluoride treatment? Some people want it, some people don't. Fluoride is toxic. However, you got to have a lot of it in order for it to be toxic.
Mhm.
What you got any ideas or thoughts on that? Would you take it if they offered it to you?
I don't know. I don't know the ins and outs. I have not heard the argument to and fro, but I will say that I have heard it about being forced into our water. And
Yes.
mhm.
I was
And
reading about this last night. This has been
okay,
going
tell
on
me
since
some
the
more.
1960s.
Right.
Apparently, what happened is there's a particular town where a dentist notices back at the turn of the century, early 1900s, these brown spots on people's teeth. And
Wow.
it turns out there was this fluoride in their water supply. I think it was somewhere in Missouri or Kansas. And the dentist noticed that on these brown spots, which is what happens when you overtreat with fluoride,
Mm.
but he noticed that no cavities ever appeared in those areas. So they started doing experiments on it, and they started finding out that fluoride actually protects teeth from cavities. So somewhere around the 1960s or 50s, they started experimenting by putting fluoride in the water supply. Minneapolis is one of the 10 cities that they experimented with this on. And what they noticed, or the study showed, that cavities in youth went down something like between 50 and 75%.
Wow.
So they
Mm.
started adding this, expanding this whole program to adding it to the water supply. Now, just about all the water supplies in this country have some form of fluoride in there. It's
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be like so watered down that it does
Mm-hmm.
not affect you, but there are a lot of people out there, conspiracy theorists
Mm-hmm.
like me,
Mm-hmm.
that feel like, okay, that seems like you went over the top to give everybody a fluoride treatment. Usually the government doesn't do stuff like that to really help you. There's usually an alternative means here. And especially after we heard about everything that happened during COVID, now
Yes.
that's a little bit more heightened, right? Like, okay, what are you doing with this fluoride?
Mm-hmm.
I passed on the treatment myself. I haven't had one. I've only had one filling my whole life. So I
Wow.
don't
Wow.
really, I think I've got some pretty rock solid teeth here, so I'm not too worried about that.
Well, okay. I'm going to try to share for a second because I just asked chat some things about this. For one, Lisa and I use water pitchers all the time. And to take all the impurities, I'm any tap
Yeah, we
water,
do too.
I'd
Yes.
highly suggest it. And so I was wondering, does it take out the fluoride? And it says most standard water pitchers like Brita and Pure do not remove fluoride.
Huh.
Fluoride is a
Interesting.
small ion that requires special filtration methods. So I said, what are the arguments against having fluoride in our water supply? Because I heard these some years ago, but I forget what they were. So, arguments against having it. Health concerns. Some argue that fluoride can cause health issues such as dental fluorosis, discoloration of teeth.
That's what I was
Scale-
talking about. That's what they noticed, those
oh,
brown spots. Yep.
okay, okay. Skeletal fluorosis, bone damage, and potential links to thyroid problems or neurological effects. Holy
Well, that doesn't
crap.
sound good. Yeah.
No, ethical issues. Yeah. The ethical issue, I know that one. It's having this
Yeah.
medicine pushed upon us in our
Yeah.
water
Without
supply.
knowing about it. Right. That's not
Exactly.
what that's
Without having a
that informed
choice. We didn't
consent. Right.
vote. Yeah,
Yeah.
we didn't
Yeah.
vote on this.
There's a thing called informed consent too. Like
Yes.
you're giving me this. It's like a drug, but you're not telling me. Like I got to
Yeah.
research it to find out you're giving it to me.
Yeah. So I see the ethical debate for sure. Effectiveness debate. Critics claim that fluoride's benefits are topical rather than systemic, suggesting that brushing teeth with fluoride toothpaste might be more effective than ingesting it. That makes a lot of sense to me.
To me too.
Yeah. Okay. Environmental impact concerns that fluoride in the water supply could harm the environment, especially aquatic life. All
There's always
valid.
a downstream, right?
Yes.
Anyway, so yeah, fluoride is a big deal.
Oh, let me
Um,
ask you.
yeah, go
So
ahead.
the fluoride treatment that you turned down, what does this
Yes.
treatment look like?
You know what? I haven't had it in so long, but I remember when I was a kid getting the fluoride treatment was like it was like a, um, that thing you wear when you play football, you put it in your
Yeah.
mouth. It
Mhm.
was like one of those for the top and the bottom, and they put the fluoride in those
Oh,
areas and they put
sure.
it in your mouth, and
Mm.
you got to hold it there for like a half an hour. Well, at least that's how it was when I
Oh,
was a kid. And then they were like, don't swallow.
yeah,
Don't
yeah,
swallow.
yeah.
Which is really hard not to do because when they say don't swallow, it's like your swallow mechanism starts like,
Well, it makes your
gotta
mouth
swallow.
water. And I know
Yeah.
this because I've had teeth whitening solutions that are exactly
Oh,
that.
right,
So
right.
that's like the retainer I was talking about
Yep,
after my
yep.
braces. So you get these mouth guards.
Yeah, that's right.
And you fill them with the solution. It's probably, I know the active ingredient in the teeth whitening thing is peroxide, hydrogen peroxide. And so,
Oh,
yeah, you
yeah,
do the
yeah.
same thing there as well. Now, more effective by my personal experience and reading reviews, I have them. I rarely remember to do this. The Crest teeth whitening strips, they
Yeah,
really do
those are
work.
pretty good. I
They
think you've
really work.
told me that before.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. So I had a unique experience there where my dental hygienist, whom I really like, had me laughing really hard. I don't even remember what we laughed about, but I just started to think that I don't think I've ever laughed in the dental office before.
Right.
And I don't think a lot of people laugh in the dental office because
Right.
the dentist ended up barging into the room like, what's going on in here? Like, he goes, I couldn't wait to come in here and find out what's going on. Your laughter is filling the whole place
I
and it's
bet.
making other people laugh too.
Oh, that's
So
so funny.
I
Your
thought
big
that's a
baritone laugh. Yeah.
pretty, yeah. But I started thinking maybe people were getting jealous because they thought I was getting the nitrous oxide over there and they
Right.
weren't getting any.
Right. I
And
never had it.
okay, that's where I was leading to. I have had it one time.
Yeah.
I remember as a kid, and this is when I had my filling, and so my mom was standing right next to me, and they said, "Do you want the gas?" And I was like, "Gas? What are you talking about?" "Oh, laughing gas." And I'm like, "Laughing gas?" Sure. I looked at my mom, and she's like, "Yeah, okay, cool." I think I was about 13 at the time. They put a little mask
Yeah.
on me, and in about 2 minutes, I was stoned. I
Oh,
mean,
wow.
and I remember my mom was right there, and I kind of was even paranoid to look at my mom. I'm like,
Sure.
I don't even want to look at you. But it felt like I was really high. And then they were like, "Oh, we're going to drill in your teeth," and I don't care, whatever.
Oh,
I mean,
really?
it
Okay.
really did take away that,
Oh, your
and then
anxiety.
it did. And then as soon as they removed the mask, I mean, it wasn't even like 10 seconds before I started feeling normal again, to the
Really?
point where it was like, was that my
Do
imagination?
you know,
Like,
do they use that anymore?
no, I actually on a previous dental experience, I asked for the gas because I was very nervous. I'm a
Mm,
nervous dental guy,
mm.
and they were like, "Oh, we don't actually do that anymore."
Oh,
And I begged for it, and they dug up some machine that looked like it was from Lost in Space or
yeah,
something,
yeah, yeah.
and they put the little mask on me. And this time I don't remember feeling anything. I'm pretty sure the whole thing was just a placebo,
Ah, right, right, right,
but
right.
it kind of worked. So
Oh,
anyway,
that's
no,
so
I
funny.
haven't had it since then.
There was a hilarious scene in like Lethal Weapon 2 or 3, whatever. Danny Glover, Mel Gibson, and Joe Pesci played the little guy in it, which was a
Yeah,
strange
yeah.
part for him, but he was funny in it. And there was a scene in a dental office, like they come in and get the bad guy in his dental chair, whatever. But he was getting the nitrous, and they were doing their thing, and the nitrous is just filling up the room, and they're like slowly starting to laugh. And by the end of it, they're laughing their butts off. And dude, it seems so authentic because everybody in the theater was cracking up.
I
Like,
saw a
good help.
scene like that too on the Pink Panther, and they ended up
Ah,
Clouseau and Dreyfus were laughing so hard they fell down the steps. It was hilarious, and apparently it doesn't make everybody laugh. But my
oh,
mom told me that some people that do take it, they just laugh hysterically, like they're
for
just
sure.
like out of it. So anyhow, yeah, just dental fun right there. Anyhow, got a good
You,
report. I
I'm
feel good
just going to
about
say
that.
briefly, laughing is so contagious. Like you could watch somebody laughing hysterically and you won't know why they're laughing and it'll make you start laughing. I
Don't you
remember,
love that?
dude, a couple years ago, we shared a segment at the end of the show where this woman, she's videoing herself and her husband on the beach. She gave him shorts that dissolve when they meet water. and he wore them out and
I
he goes,
remember that.
do
Yeah.
you? And she's laughing so hard. She is crying and this
Oh
guy's
my
stuck in
God.
the water. He's like, what are you doing?
Can't get out. He can't even believe it. He
You and
runs
I,
into the water so excited and
you and
just
I were
rips
laughing so hard.
dissolve off. Yeah,
You,
that was
you
crazy.
couldn't watch that and not bust up laughing. But what I love most about it was to see, you could see their relationship there. And I say this a lot when I see people like this. There's the times when I see a couple that, they were like friends in college and they used to do drinking games and play pranks on each other. And they're still kind of like that. They still retain that part of their relationship. I love that. I adore
Yeah,
that.
it's funny because you really could see that in that video.
It's
Just,
funny you remember that. I'm glad
yeah,
you
yeah. The
remember
way
it.
that she was talking about it as he was going out there,
Yeah.
it was like this was
Yeah.
the one of the joys of her life right there. Is this getting them, and he had done something similar to
Oh,
her,
sure.
so that's
Sure.
how that was going right there.
Yeah.
Hey, I wanted to switch up a little bit on Labor Day. I was just doing a little bit of research because I didn't. When did this all start? Like, what is Labor Day about? Do you have any
Oh,
idea on this?
I don't. None. I
Well,
never even thought about it.
I really never did either. I was just like, you know what? It's a great time to have a day off and
Yeah,
barbecue and all that
it
kind of
is.
stuff. But there's a reason for this holiday, and the history's kind of interesting. Apparently, in the late 1800s was, we were in the height of the Industrial Revolution, and back then it was pretty crazy. I mean, we didn't have the labor unions that protecting us the way that they do
Oh,
now, and
so
you
this
had
was the
people.
bone that they threw us.
Well, here's the thing is that it was, and they were working 12-hour days. You had
Oh,
kids working in these factories
oh,
as young as 5 and 6 years old. The wages were terrible. The safety mechanism, I mean, people
right.
were losing arms and legs and feet and all kind of fingers and all that kind of stuff. Well, the people started to, get pretty upset about this, and they started to protest, and many of these events turned violent during this period, including the infamous Haymaker riot in 1886, which several Chicago policemen and workers were killed. And so we also had as a result of that, there was this big march on a Monday, September 5th, 1882, where 10,000 workers took unpaid time off to march from the city hall to Union Square in New York City. So that was the first
Let me.
Labor Day parade.
Oh, really? Now
Yes.
that's interesting. So would
So it
we
was on their
cons
own. They did this on their own. It wasn't a holiday.
Let me ask you if you know. So are these different people from different jobs, or is this like all?
Yes.
Because I
Yes.
was thinking this is like the beginning of unions, maybe
It
to
is
some
the
extent.
beginning of unions. Well, unions were starting to be formed already, but the
Ah,
unions are what brought this thing forward. But 12 years later, Congress wouldn't legalize the holiday until 12 years later. But this all came about on May 11th, 1894. The employees of the Pullman Palace Car Company, which is a train company in Chicago, went on strike to protest wages and cuts and the firing of union representatives. And so on June 26th, the railroad union called for a boycott of the Pullman railway cars, crippling railroad traffic nationwide. And this caused
that'll hurt them.
actual riots. And the government dispatched troops to Chicago, which unleashed
Oh,
another wave of riots that resulted in deaths of more than a dozen workers. Well, this all
wow.
culminated where Congress now, I mean, this was a big deal, Barry.
Yeah.
And then Congress ended up acting on this, and they sent something up to President Grover Cleveland. And on June 28th, 1894, Cleveland signed Labor Day into law, and we've been celebrating it ever since.
I really appreciate that, dude. What a nice share. I didn't know any of that. And it's funny, I'm watching this documentary on Wyatt Earp right now. It's
Huh.
on Netflix. And
Yeah.
first, I was going to talk about it at the end of the show, but you just made me think all about it. First, it made me realize that show, the movie Tombstone, one of my
Yes.
all time favorite movies, is
Great
very
movie.
accurate.
It is
It's
very
also
accurate.
very historically
It
accurate.
is. Yes.
But there's so much more to the story. So this is a mini series, a series of some sort. I'm on episode 2 or 3. I only recently started watching it. But this is taking place around 1881, 82. This is the Wild West. And I didn't know that Garfield was president. He got shot, very Lincoln-esque, if I recall. Wasn't he shot?
Yeah, he was shot. And when he fell backwards, he fell right back into Abraham Lincoln's son's arms.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Can
So
you
I didn't
believe
know
that?
this, but the vice president was this, as they say, a dandy. And he was this really just a shady character. I forget his name. I didn't recall his name at all from any kind of schooling. And he was just a horrible president for a few years. And that's where I'm at right now. But you get a really good look of where the country was at that time. And, our newspapers just became the big hit. So newspapers are proliferating, and they're already sensationalizing everything. They love the Wyatt Earp stories. So the OK Corral story. Oh my God, that went viral. Though they didn't have that word back then, but it really did. And they sensationalized it even more and more. And those guys, Wyatt Earp and his brothers and Doc Holliday, were very nearly hanged. They went through a massive trial over all of this, and the newspapers were sensationalizing it. But then at the last moment, the lawyer found a way to pull it all out and spared them and made them heroes. They went from heroes to zeros, back to heroes again. So that's where I'm at. I got a long ways to go, but I recommend it highly. It's very educational with our history in this very young country. And so you're talking about the railroads, what they did with taking out the railroads. Oh, dude, back then that was everything to supply everyone in the country at that time.
It really was. And so many things that were happening at the time. I mean, it's this huge railroad expansion, and oil was becoming two big things, which produced some pretty large tycoons out there, JP Morgan and Carnegie being two of those people coming out of the railroads, and Rockefeller out of the railroads and oil. And it turns out that these people at that time, really, Edison is in that time with electricity. I mean, you've got Alexander Graham Bell at that time with the telephone. I mean, all of these technologies are starting to come out. And at the exact same time where all of this industrial revolution is happening, the United States is becoming the #1 manufacturer in the world. And so all of these things are happening
way back then.
Yes,
I really thought it was like World War I was the beginning of that.
It was actually at the end of the 1800s, during the Industrial Revolution, and then of course Ford comes at the beginning of the end of the 1800s, beginning of the 1900s, and then the Wright brothers. All of this is leading to the beginning of the 1900s. Go ahead.
You just glossed right over the fact that Ford developed the assembly line, which is instrumental. In the
right. And this is all part of what led to, by the time World War I had started in 1914, we as the United States were the #1 manufacturer in the world.
Dude, think about this. We might have talked about this a few months ago, if I recall, but Wilbur and Orville Wright get that little piece of crap plane off the ground for the first time, and it's like 20 years later, we're just all through the skies. Everywhere.
Not only that, but 20 years, not even 20 years later, you're fighting in the sky.
My point exactly.
You got
it wasn't even 20 years.
You're dropping bombs out of there to kill people with it. I mean, I often wonder what Wilbur and Orville thought about this amazing invention, using it to cause death.
Well, that's like the Oppenheimer dilemma with the bomb.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the whole thing.
He was said to never have lived that down.
I mean, who could really? I mean, when you take a look at it, I have this letter, speaking of that, from Einstein to FDR in 1938. It's in a book, and it's warning FDR about the fact that the Germans are going to create this new weapon, and it's a nuclear bomb is what he's
Right.
talking about.
Right.
And of course he doesn't really take it seriously at first, and like who could imagine something like that?
Right.
Einstein could.
Right.
And he had to get out of that country, or because he was in Germany. He was Jewish, and so they would
Right.
have snuffed him out easily.
As I recall, we courted the leading scientists away from Germany, and they were key to
Yeah.
helping us develop that beautiful weapon.
I
And well,
Yeah,
you know
isn't
what? The
that
movie
something?
Oppenheimer says it all. I got to watch that
I
again
haven't watched it
because
yet. Yeah, I
it
got
was
to watch
heavy.
that one.
There's a lot being thrown at you. I recommend watching it twice.
Yeah, that I started watching the beginning of it, and it starts out like that, where it's like a
Yes.
lot of information is coming at me. And I thought,
Yes.
"Ooh, I got to pay attention to this," and I put it on
Yes.
pause, and I didn't come back to it.
Yeah, you got to kind of like take notes. Hey, buddy, I got a whole lot to go
Okay,
over
great.
today in whatever order that you want, but I'm just going to tell you what I have. So I have a section on lifelong Democrats that switched sides very vocally. There's 4 of them, very key
Wow.
figures here. And in the media, the New York Times comes out with a story, joy is not a strategy. So my question
The New
is,
York Times, huh?
the New York Times. The New York Times is so instrumental that in 2016, or was it 2018? One of those. But they published the story about the UFO disclosure by Congress, by our government, which put the question to bed, are there UFOs? Yes, they admit there are UFOs. So now the question is, what are they? Ever since that story in the New York Times, I'm telling you, that's how instrumental they still are. Another silly thing is on Fox News, they call out Jesse Waters for saying that generals would have their way with Kamala Harris if she were elected. And at the end of this episode, I want you all to stay tuned for Mark Tennant's 2-minute AI DIY tip. So do it yourself. We're doing a segment, trying it out, see how you guys receive it. 2 minutes on how to get started with AI with our resident expert, Mark Tennant. That'll be at the end of the episode. I'll splice that in there. Merle, I don't know if you want to go take things your own way, or would you like to start with the lifelong Democrats that have recently...
Yeah, let's start with that. I'm interested to see what we have here. And here's the thing. Democrat or Republican, it's an interesting thing. We've talked about this before. George Washington, our first president, didn't believe in the party system. The reason he didn't believe in it was because once he implemented, it becomes all about, it's like we're in these habits, right? As the party system is set up, I don't even have to know who I'm voting for. I could just go to the voting booth and just, if I'm a Republican, R, R, R. If I'm a Democrat, D, D, D. That's and George Washington warned us about this. If we implement a party system, it becomes all about the party and not about the will of the people.
You're exactly right.
So making a switch though from Democrat to Republican or Republican to Democrat isn't like walking across the street. This is a major worldview change really now. It's like you're picking a new religion almost. So and it is sort of cult like in both of those parties now. So I don't know how you change parties these days.
Oh, buddy, you said so much right there. Of these 4 people that are key figures that have switched recently, every one of them touch upon what you just said. Number 4 is RFK Jr. and Nicole Shanahan. And I started with 4 because she said straight up, quote, "We're very committed to breaking up the duopoly, but the Democrats have been absolutely brutal and sinister." Another person, one of these, also said the same thing. So I'm just going to back up. I know I've said it 100 times on the show, but our government has very purposefully contained this since the Ross Perot scare back in, was it early 90s?
Yes.
Yeah, so that scared the bejesus out of Washington because they felt like just as Trump does, they feel like the deep state's going to lose control. So they want a 2-party system where the Republicans give the facade of there being a choice and something else happening. At the end of our last episode, I was quoting. I did about a 4-minute solo part after you signed off, quoting Dave Smith about how we went from the 9/11 thing and George Bush being a hero and sending us to war under false pretenses in Iraq due to uh, misinformation by Netanyahu. And so we go off on that tirade. Bush starts out a hero, ends up a goat at the end. So we go to Barack Obama, expecting to get the anti-Bush thing. He gets us into 4 other different wars that nobody ever talks about. He messes everything up so bad. He's like Super Bush, that by his second term, they just introduce identity politics and make us all racist and just talk about race from then on, which is where we've been ever since. And that leads us to Trump trying to undo all of this crap. And we really got to get rid of this 2-party system and get a real choice, because look, we don't have a choice now. We really don't have a choice. We got Kamala Harris pushed out there with no vote to save democracy.
I mean, you got to pause on that. To save democracy. That's it. Right there. We're saving democracy by jamming a candidate down your throat
that nobody likes. Right. Right. Oh, another thing that we should talk about after this is her softball interview with CNN last night. Oh, God. Yes. Okay. So anyways, let me just talk a little bit more about RFK joining the Trump team, the Trump transition team. This is huge, in my opinion. So he gets courted by Trump. They met with the Democrats. I might as well back up before I go there. I'll back up. Nicole Shanahan said that she felt she did another brilliant interview with Dave Smith just a couple of days ago. She felt like a criminal when questioned by the Democrat legal team for running independent. The more traction her and RFK got, the more frivolous lawsuits that were filed against them. So so RFK Jr. could no longer take time to campaign anymore. He was fighting frivolous lawsuit. Does that sound like anybody else?
Yeah. It's lawfare. That's what we're dealing with. It's lawfare here. It's sick. It's a sick thing.
Sick. It's very sick. So she said, Nicole, I just quoted this. We're very committed to breaking up the duopoly, and the Democrats have been absolutely brutal and sinister. They fought like crazy to keep the RFK team off the ballots. Now they're fighting like crazy to keep them on the ballots because new intel is telling them it will now hurt the Republican cause.
Can you believe that? Isn't that crazy?
Yes, I do. Unfortunately, I believe every bit of it. I will believe that they're going to try to stack the ballots as much as they possibly can in any way that they can, because the kid gloves are clearly off. They believe that if you could kill baby Hitler, you do it. And it's anything is justified. So after deciding to drop out of the race, they met both sides, the Democrats first. The Democrat reps asked her, what will it take to get you to not join the Trump team? Nicole says, bring back legal accountability to the pharmaceutical industry for the vaccination. They say, wow,
big.
We'll speak to our people and we'll get back to you next day. That's never going to happen.
No, it's not.
So she says, who's making these decisions? Who are their people? Who were they talking to? Even RFK Jr.'s family doesn't seem to know the answer to that question.
That's a good one.
Dude, this is so sinister. I just have a note that I really like this, that RFK made health the center of their campaign. Why do we let our children get poison? They are sick mentally and physically. And by the way, Nicole shared this on the podcast, just hours after Trump's assassination attempt, he called Bobby, wanted to talk about children's health.
Yeah, I heard that conversation. It was the one we talked about on the show that RFK was actually being filmed at the time when the call came in.
Oh, right.
And they never stopped rolling the film. And the guy that filmed it leaked the conversation out.
Yeah,
and
it was not cool.
It wasn't cool, but the conversation actually was cool. And the way that Trump was describing to Bobby Kennedy what his vision was and how they could connect up. Look, Bobby, we're going to win this. And you've got some great things that I admire about what you're bringing to the table. And he started talking about all the vaccinations that kids are getting these days.
Right.
And it's crazy, Barry. In fact, I brought some information on vaccinations just to show how many that are happening right now.
Oh, God.
It is absolutely crazy. And of course, I can't pull it up right away, but the fact of the matter is that these kids are just like pincushions now. It was something like when we were kids. Here it is right here. When we were kids, we were getting like 5 vaccinations.
I didn't think we got that many. Okay.
We did get the polio. Let's see here. CDC is not an independent agency. Oh, that it says, the CDC has become a pharmaceutical company. I mean, they own vaccination patents. So they're constant. Oh, yeah. Let me go back to that article. The CDC owns over 20 vaccine patents. It sells about 4.6 billion of vaccines every year. And so they have a huge conflict of interest when it comes to vaccinations. They actually have a new monkeypox vaccination that just got approved. Get ready for that. That one's coming at you right now. But this is an interesting article that came out is 1983 kids were getting 10 doses, 10 vaccinations, 2013 32,
oh my God,
74, 2024 90 vaccines. Autism rates in 83 were 1 in 10,000. Autism rates today are 1 in 32. Those correspond directly to those 3 numbers. 2013, it was 1 in 88. 2018, 1 in 36. Today, 1 in 32. They're saying that by 2030, we're going to be looking at 1 out of 2.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
And you look at these vaccinations and how they're doing this, there's no liability for these vaccine companies.
That's what she said. That's what she said. Make them liable. And they're like, never going to happen. That was her exact quote.
Who did they go to? That is interesting. Who did they go to get that answer? This thing is locked in there, and it happened during the Reagan administration and during the whole AIDS so-called epidemic. Right. And the correlations between the AIDS epidemic and the COVID epidemic, pandemic are extremely similar. And now we've got this
who was in the center of both.
It was always Fauci. It was Fauci.
Always Fauci.
Fauci. So now he apparently didn't get COVID. A couple of weeks ago, he got West Nile's disease. That's causing a big commotion now because they're spraying everywhere for West Nile's disease, spraying for mosquitoes. That's how it's passed. And they're brewing up something here, whether it's going to be West Nile's.
I was thinking that too.
Or it was going to be Mpox. They're shipping vaccines everywhere on this Mpox thing. They're saying it's a super deadly disease. Oh, coincidentally, right before the election.
Yeah. I don't think many people are going to bite on that one. So I'm going to end this one with where I started, and that is RFK Jr. has decided to accept the Trump olive branch offer to become part of his transition team, where he will help choose Trump's political team, which I think is extraordinarily important because I think Trump did a very crappy job of it last time. And I think really RFK will do a great job of it.
Man, he's got some pretty powerful people around him, like RFK, Elon Musk, Tucker Carlson, Vivek Ramaswamy.
Yeah.
I mean, he's really putting together an all-star team, unlike the last time around.
There you go. That was very well said. For that matter, you keep just putting things right out there for me. So number 3, I'm going in reverse order now, thanks to you. Elon Musk. And I only put a brief note here. He jumped ship, and he probably rescued free speech and democracy, probably the catalyst by buying Twitter, buying X, and creating our first free speech platform amongst the highly censored social media sites. And that's just awful. Let me go to number 2, Brett Weinstein.
Can I back up to Elon for just a second? I got this interesting graph here. But basically, it's showing political affiliation of Tesla owners. And when you see somebody driving a Tesla, you definitely think, "Oh, that's a Democrat right there."
AOC.
Interesting thing, right? However, in 2023, things changed. Let me see if I could just share this graph here,
Mhm.
because it is
I
pretty
hope you don't
interesting.
screw up your connection.
No, I can't share. You took me down here.
Oh,
And
I did not. You have it available now. I forgot to make it
okay, there we
available.
go. I don't need any sound for this. Okay, so this is it right here.
Oh,
Uh,
yeah, I saw this before.
this Democrats back in 2000. Now that's
Yes.
when really Elon started really on his whole X
Yes.
tirade and all
Yes.
that. We started learning about the X
What an
files and
eye
everything.
opener that was. Oh my
Boom,
God.
Democrats stopped
Yes.
by, but the independent party was like,
Yeah.
hey, I kind of like what Elon said. I think I need
Right.
a Tesla.
And
The
Republicans
Republicans,
are unchanged.
but we are not changed. We are going the same way
I wonder
always.
why. What explanation do you have for that?
Well, here's my thing
Look
is
at the
that
independence
I
skyrocketed.
think it's really interesting, and I think I was watching a Muslim cleric talking about this week, and he was talking about the difference between Democrats and basically conservatives, and he was saying that these conservatives have these principles that they're locked into, and trying to get them off of those principles is almost impossible. But the Democrats don't have that. They don't have that solid thing. They're easily
It's
moved,
it's
and
always shaking and moving. Yeah.
I think the independents are kind of in that same position, and maybe because they're independents, that could explain that. But
Yeah. I
but
see. Yeah.
I think this is a could
It's
be a valid
interesting.
explanation for that.
I think that was
But
a very good explanation for
yeah,
that.
yeah,
As you say it, it makes sense to me. So Republicans are steady Eddies. They're going to believe and stand what they stand for no matter what. Yeah, I totally agree. Like we got sold Biden as being the moderate that he was supposed to always be. Little did we know that his brain wasn't operating anymore and he was being operated by a deep state that was clearly uh, puppet mastered by the progressive far left.
well, and Barry, we talk about this now frequently, but it's the critical thinking skills, right?
Right.
If people tell you take this vaccination or else, and there are the people that are like, oh, okay, or else, okay, I guess I'll take it, and then the other people are like, or else what? You know. So I think that's what's going on there. But you were
Okay.
moving on to another topic
Sure,
there.
Brett Weinstein, and one of my favorite people. He and his
I
brother
love
Eric.
him.
God, I
Yeah.
do too. Brett Weinstein, once again, briefly, he a very similar trajectory as Jordan Peterson. He was at I don't know, Seattle University teaching, and he got ousted. He got canceled because when they had No White People Day, I forget what they called it, but it was like that. White people can't come to class. He protested against that, got canceled, and got more famous than ever before. He is one of
It's
America's
crazy.
smartest minds. He was on the PBD podcast just about maybe a week ago, six
Two
days ago.
great minds right there.
Oh, God, it's such a good podcast. But see, Brett can talk about anything with deep clarity. Like,
He
I
really can.
love this guy.
Yes,
And
yes.
so he said, a lifelong Democrat. In fact, he referred to himself as a progressive uh,
Wow.
pretty much all his life.
You would
And,
never know that today, in
well,
like because
only
he
because, dude, people like him never moved. It's the
right.
party that moved.
You're right. That's right.
Right. That's exactly right. So he said there was no way he was going to vote for Trump. He always said it. No way, in quotes. But now that RFK is with Trump, my values are over there now. I'm voting Trump. He says
Wow.
the Democratic Party has become evil and represents the exact opposite of what it did 10 to 20 years ago.
Wow. Evil.
He said evil.
Well, when you go after people with lawfare, the way
Mm-hmm.
that I've seen them do this, like
Yes.
for instance, in Michigan, they're using the legal system to keep Kennedy on the ballot. right? Because they know that that'll hurt Trump, but they're also using their legal system to take Cornel West off the ballot.
Correct.
So at the same time, they want to keep this guy on because it's going to help Kamala, but take another guy off because it's going to help Kamala. And
Yeah.
you've got the Secretary of State over there saying, look, if you don't certify these elections, we're coming for you. We're coming. You better certify those elections. I mean, it was like in your face video that she put out there. And you think about the state of Michigan, you got that attorney general over there that's still going after the electorate voters over there. One of them happens to be a family member of mine. They're ruining these people. These people are totally innocent, and they're ruining them, threatening to put them in jail for the rest of their lives.
Oh my
This is
God.
this is like a whole nother. This is like a country you would read about when you were in school. Like this
Yeah.
happened during World War II.
That,
But no,
yeah.
this is
Way
happening
back when. Yeah.
today, under Gretchen Whitmer's purview. It is insane, Barry.
Right. Okay, that brings us to number one. I'm actually glad that we went in reverse order because I think it's very appropriate.
Yeah,
And
right
at
on.
number one is Tulsi Gabbard. And boy, oh boy, I think this is the most powerful one too, because she was blue right through her to her heart, to her bones. And was it 2016 election that she got ousted on? They would not
No, it's 2020.
2020. Correct. And because she would not take corporate funding. And since we are live in an oligarchy right now, controlled by corporations, that means, she was a turncoat to them. So in spite of being a woman of color, she's Hawaiian, they went with the old white guy instead, in spite of their values, that they're hypocrites all the way through. But let me get to the notes I have here. So she left the Democratic Party in 2020, now endorses Trump. Quote, not only did he not start any new wars, he acted to de-escalate existing wars. That's a very, very important point, especially today. So Biden-Harris has us on the brink of nuclear war, as she says, and they are puppets of the military-industrial complex. Oh, I do have a clip of her, and it's 30 seconds. Let me see if I have it at the right spot, and share sound. And I'm just going to play the 30 seconds, and then we got more to talk about.
The differences between President Trump and Vice President Harris couldn't be more stark. Frankly, to put it simply, the choice for the American people is a choice with Donald Trump, a man who values peace, prosperity, and freedom, and he has a record that proves that, and Vice President Kamala Harris, whose record shows an increasingly tyrannical government undermining our freedoms. We are embroiled in multiple wars around the world and closer to the brink of nuclear war than ever before, and increasing economic hardship for Americans throughout these last 3.5 years that she has served as Vice President of the United States.
I'll stop there. I mean, honestly, that has made me very emotional just hearing that much of it. And and when I mean emotional, I mean very angry, and also, I don't know, somewhat almost tearful that this has happened to our country. And I can't even believe it.
I can't either. Just looking at the interview, the Dana Bash interview last night with.
Okay, hold on before we go there.
Okay,
because we got some important things. I wanted to mention that in what she just said in that powerful 30 seconds, she never even mentioned the open borders.
Yeah. This woman single-handedly took Harris down in 2020.
Yes, she did. She sure did. I wanted to mention
it was just by sharing the truth of her record.
And got to tell you that got her in a lot of trouble. She was recently added to the quote Quiet Skies list, that terrorist watch list.
You know, this Quiet Skies program has been going on for over a decade. Did you know that they've put people on this and it's never led to any convictions or anything? It's a sham. The whole thing is a sham. It's meant to punish political opponents. That's all it's meant to do.
And she's become a big enemy of the state.
Well, and that's the thing, is that this has become, this is no longer a political arena like we've had in this country over my entire lifetime, where you treat your political opponent as an actual enemy combatant and you
Right.
do whatever you can to ruin their lives.
Right.
This is no longer an American ideal. This is what we've seen in third world countries. We've seen this
Exactly.
amongst warlords before. It's almost barbaric what we're seeing right now. And I'm telling you, Barry, that bullet that went across Trump's face a
Mhm.
couple of weeks ago,
That no one talks about?
I have I have a very hard time believing that the higher ups, the powers that be, were not involved in that.
Of course.
It looks very obvious that that was a hit, and this is what we're talking about. This is
Dude,
what our
don't worry.
government has become.
Don't worry. The FBI's investigating it.
Yeah. Oh, the fox is guarding the hen house. Don't worry.
I said somewhere like, okay, I guess felons should just do their own investigations against themselves now. You know, I mean, come on. I want to just read this list briefly, real quickly
Right,
again. The people that have switched sides: Tulsi Gabbard, Brett Weinstein, Elon Musk, and RFK Jr. and Nicole Shanahan. Those are every one of them are high quality, smart, high character individuals. That's got to tell you something.
Kennedy is like Democrat Party royalty.
But all of them. Look at Tulsi Gabbard. She switched. She went from independent to supporting Trump. Never in a million years would I believe that she would come that far. But every one of these people are telling you that there is evil going on here.
Well, and look at the fact that they have done everything except for stand on their head, and that's coming next, to let Kamala off the hook regarding any kind of interview. I mean, the interview we saw was not an interview, although there were some questions that I liked, but no follow-ups. Let's what I can't even believe that we've maneuvered it to this point. I almost don't have words for this, but if you're a Democrat, how can you okay, I just try to put myself in their shoes. If suddenly they were like, you know what, we're taking Trump out, I don't think he can win. We got this other guy waiting in the wings. He's going to do a lot better that you didn't vote for. I would be so angry about that.
Oh yeah.
I would.
I know you would. You're not. I know you. You in particular, you would be enraged and you would be speaking against it every day.
And I would be thinking about how you've damaged the reputation of the Republican Party by acting like a tyrannical party. And I don't want to be associated with it. I mean, when it comes to integrity like that, I have my principles.
Yes, you
like
do.
That graph.
Yes, you do.
Things started happening in California. I didn't even have a job. I took my wife out of there. It was too unsafe. I couldn't support the government of California and what they were supporting. I'm a big advocate of, I'm a big pro-life guy, but when they made California the abortion capital of America, I couldn't let my tax dollars go to that any longer and look at myself in the mirror. And so, I mean, this is what we need to be. We need to stand up for what's right and what's good. There's Barry, at the DNC, the convention, while they were talking about liberty and freedom, in the very back outside, they were given free abortions and free vasectomies. I don't care about the vasectomies, although getting them for free, well, who would do that? I don't think I would want anybody messing around down there for free.
That's a really good point,
because you know what you get for free. Nothing good. Okay.
Yeah,
but I mean,
it may never work again.
I heard that there was something like 28 abortions there. Now, whether you agree with, I don't, I think it's sick personally, but they talk about being inclusive. Well, how could that include me? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not what inclusiveness means. You know, if you are going to have an inclusive society, then you want people with diversity of thought, right? But you're making it so that you can't actually have that because you're in your face with what a lot of people, half the people in this country, are against. And I just think, why are we making a mockery out of this? Why can't it just be about politics? Why does it have to be about like this? And it's like you said at the very beginning, joy is not a strategy. How did joy come into politics? joy. And I even heard the CNN saying this is really a very important strategy, a very big part of the strategy. We didn't hear any policy, but we
Right.
heard a lot of shaming, a lot
Right.
of guilt, and a lot of how Donald Trump is a convicted
Feelings.
felon.
Oh
And
God, yeah.
right,
Oh
exactly.
yeah.
But what did we hear what the candidate really stands for besides we're going to make America better, we're going to like lots of change. Well, when you but they do a
They
really
always
good
say
job
change.
of avoiding exactly what that change is.
Well, Dave Smith did a good job of explaining that, and I touched on it in that last monologue in the last podcast at the end. And what it is, it's a uniparty. Both parties really agree on all the major stuff. They both want wars because they're owned by the military-industrial complex. They're owned by the pharmaceutical industry, the food industry, all of that. That's why our kids are sick. That's our big problems. They all agree on all the crappy, big, important stuff. The reason that abortion stuff was thrown in your face is because as it worked with you, it created a great big dust storm that you talk about. Those are the things that to most average, you said 50% of Americans totally disagree with that. I think it's a small percentage of the dyed-in-the-wool Republicans that are really, really anti-abortion. But most Americans like myself, it's not the big issue at all. War, an economy, and our borders are what most Americans are really, really concerned with. And at the top of that list is always going to be the economy, at the very top.
I agree with what you're saying, Barry. That those
and they
those
don't want to
things
talk
that
about
you
it.
talked about the most. I mean, the things at the top.
Mhm.
The election should not be about abortion. I totally agree with that. In fact, I think it's a losing battle for the Republicans.
Agreed.
And
Totally.
that's why they're doing
Yes.
this, because they realize that.
The dust up. Yep.
But but as a Christian, I would say that there's the majority of religious people here in this country would be Christian. At least that's starting to change. But even Muslim, it's funny that they don't believe in abortion either. In fact, to kill a Muslim in the womb, that's unheard of. So I don't know. I've seen polls, Barry. It is a big percentage of people that are pro-life and a big percentage of people that are pro-choice. I think that this is why I say it's a losing battle, is because there are other things that we as conservatives can win on and then keep this thing.
Agreed.
But here's the thing is that what the Democrats are trying to do with abortion is convince their base that Donald Trump wants to make abortion illegal. He's going to ban abortion. Donald Trump's never said that.
I know.
He's never said that. His whole platform has been give it to the people. The states can vote for it. And
yeah, I know.
Why lie about that? I mean,
what didn't they lie about?
Yeah, you're right. You're right. They lie about everything. So how can you back a party that lies about everything?
I don't know. I mean, my God, it was like I said 100 times. It's like a bad dream. I swear to God, I need to wake up from this dream. The dream where we had a president where it just became apparent he hasn't been, I mean, if you didn't know this already, he hasn't been running the country for the last 3.5 years, and he's not for the next 6 months because his brain doesn't work. That was just exposed. They tried telling us he was sharp as a tack, and you could see the montages of everybody saying that 100 times in the same day. And then the next week, in the same week, I think it was cheap fakes. So when you saw him mumbling and saying the wrong thing, it was a cheap fake. The following week, 5-6 days later, maybe 8 days later, they do the debate, and now everybody sees that his brain is gone. And so now they do a backflip on that one. And so now, if you are the most dyed-in-the-wool, blue all the way through Democrat, you still have to know your media's been lying to you, and the president is not presiding over the country. So why would you support this propaganda machine? And Kamala Harris, who got 1% of the vote in 2020 before she left the race, before even making it through the first round. Like, this is craziness, man.
It really is.
And you know why? Because of one reason, Trump. That's Trump.
Well, they turned
what do you want,
into
Trump?
Their thing. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's their whole campaign.
That's it. They said, I heard the stats that in the DNC, Trump's name was mentioned 470 times. And at the RNC, Biden's name was mentioned like 4 times.
4 times.
Well, there you go.
That tells the whole story right there.
Here's the other thing, Merle. If you got to have the realization that you've been brainwashed into this rabid Trump hate. Look, I don't like Trump. I say it almost every show. I don't. I find him embarrassing. But I'm not brainwashed into this hate, and I'm sure as hell going to vote for him over what they're offering me, because I only have those 2 things to choose from, which is the problem.
I know. And you look at like what's happened to this country during the last 4 years, and you look at, like, for instance, Aurora, Colorado, where you've got this Venezuelan gang that's taken over several apartment complexes.
Saw that.
There. And you see videos now of these people walking the hallways with AR-15s and keeping these people under lockdown and everything. Aurora, Colorado, I used to live in Denver, is a very upscale neighborhood. It is a nice place. And so it's not the ghetto. It's not the inner city. It's out in the suburbs, and there's nice houses and good school systems out there. So if you think this is only happening in these central areas of cities, no, man, this is happening all over the place. And here's the thing too, Barry, is that we're seeing this in Aurora, Colorado, but in my mind, the way that the media works, that means this is happening in especially every sanctuary city, so-called sanctuary city across the United States.
Careful what you wish for, people.
This is happening, but it's probably happening in a neighborhood near you right now, because they have let literally millions of people into this country over the last 4 years, and they don't have any place to go. We know that Venezuela has emptied their criminal population into the United States. We know how bad it was in Venezuela. It's here now. And it makes you wonder how come the police aren't doing anything about this? How can we just let that happen? And so when you look at this interview last night with Kamala Harris, Kamala, I got corrected on that before. So you got to say Kamala, right?
Otherwise you're a racist. Thank you.
Yeah, that's right. Okay,
which is weird. You're a racist.
I obviously have a
you
problem
vote for
with
Trump.
That.
You're a racist. Yeah.
But she caused this. This was not just under her watch. She was in charge of what was happening at the border.
There's so many things that they're trying to deny and rewrite history, such as the border czar. We've all seen the video clips. We all remember when she was announced as our border czar. They're trying to pretend that was never the case, and that's misinformation.
Isn't it? And we take a look at all this misinformation. Like, for instance, Joy Reid is out there saying, oh, you're a bigot if you say that Kamala was a DEI hire. Okay, but we have video of her talking to Joe Biden saying, now you have doubled down to promise that you're going to bring a black vice president woman on, right? And that's what a DEI hire is, Joy Reid.
By the way, I got to throw in there, I've given some thought. Somebody has had to have thought this one through in a clever way, but the party of joy, all of a sudden, you got to put pictures of Joy Reid and Joy Blowhard up there under a meme.
Right, right. This is their definition of joy.
There's your representatives.
Like when Kamala says she's going to fix the border, well, she has a definition of fixing the border that probably doesn't match up to what you and I would say is fixing the border. I have a feeling fixing the border means, hey, it's all open and it's legal. Now it's fixed. Come on in. Here's a pathway to citizenship, because we know that the reason they're here is for voting. And we also know that they are voting now.
Oh,
It is happening on a massive scale. Texas has just done an audit. They found thousands and thousands of illegal
God.
immigrants that were registered to vote. By the way, speaking of voting, and as you said at the top of the show, you realize that they're going to cheat every possible way that they can.
Mhm.
But remember the crowd strike thing that happened a few weeks
Yeah.
ago here in Arizona. Of course, this is a hot spot regarding election interference and everything. We've been in the
Yes,
news
it is.
quite a bit, especially lately. But here during that crowd strike incident that happened about a month ago, what happened when they put their update out there was blue screens all across the world, right? Well, here in Maricopa County, where we had this big to do about the voting machines from Dominion, well, we were having early voting for the primary election out here. And a friend of mine actually works there for he's volunteering at the Maricopa County voting apparatus. And what happened on that Friday when the CrowdStrike thing happened was all of the voting machines, Dominion voting machines, went down. Okay. Well, the interesting thing about that, Barry, is that the rationale for why Dominion voting machines were not capable of being hacked during the 2020 election is because none of those machines are ever plugged into the internet.
Right.
Okay, well, the only way that these machines could get an update from CrowdStrike is to be connected to the internet. And so when they all went down, along with all the other computers, it was because it's connected to the internet. And so now this is the thing. Okay, so they're not connected to the internet, so you can't hack them, but they actually are connected to the internet. What do you got to say about that?
Yeah.
This is the whole thing. They seem awfully confident about winning this election. And why would they be so confident? And then you look back at what happened during the 2020 election. A lot of these cases about the Dominion voting machine, all of them actually, were thrown out on technicalities. There was never any real research into what happened right there. Besides the fact we already know what happened with the Hunter Biden laptop and all this other stuff. We just had Zuckerberg come out from Facebook to say that it was the FBI and the White House that came out with this whole Russian disinformation on the Hunter Biden laptop, and they shut it down. Okay. So we know the cat's out of the bag. We saw Mayorkas was saying under oath in the congressional hearings, being interviewed by Senator Josh Hawley, and he's saying, okay, so you're saying you didn't interfere, you didn't talk to Facebook and all these other. Nope, never happened. Nope, it's a lie that happened.
Who said that?
It was Mayorkas, the head of Homeland Security.
Oh,
It's his organization that was going down to Meta and telling Zuckerberg about this whole laptop misinformation, and don't print it. Also, don't put stuff out there about the vaccination. Don't put stuff out there about COVID, not even funny stuff.
I have a lot of notes on this that I just looked over. I forgot about them. And yes, one of my notes too is that they're pressured by the Biden administration to censor all COVID-related posts, including humor and satire. That is 100% censorship and just anti-First Amendment. First Amendment. Top. Right there at the top.
This is what you're going to get. I mean, there's a reason why it's at the top. It's because everything about your ability to communicate what's on your mind has to do with how you're made as a human being. And these things are all about the realm of humanness and freedom. And this here, we hear a lot about freedom at these conventions, but at the First Amendment is at the center of your freedom. If you can control how people talk, you can control how people think. That's what's so dangerous about the woke environment, by the way.
Yes.
It's all about how you speak. And by the way, Anne Marie was doing some research, and she was reading to me about how the federal government has on their employees all this woke language. Like, you can't even say mother now. You have to say like birthing people.
Yeah.
I mean, like, all of the rules that they have make it so it's almost impossible to communicate. And
That's
especially
ridiculous.
for a guy my age. I mean, it's like a new language that I've got to learn. And if I don't learn it, I'm a bigot. I'm a misogynist.
It's the end of this.
Exactly.
If this administration, if this Harris administration were to win, I don't want to be hyperbolic like everybody is about Trump saying, he'll never leave office and all that, even though he already went through this one time.
Right.
But I don't think we couldn't possibly survive another 4 years of being commandeered by the deep state. And that's the intention.
Right.
But I wanted to say more about Zuckerberg because I actually listened to quite a bit about this subject matter over the week. And, one of the things he said is that he will no longer fall for the just hold on to this news like the Hunter Biden laptop thing until we fact check it, which would be indefinitely.
Right.
And anyways, Matt, here's an important thing. Okay, first of all, there's the issue. Is Zuckerberg being admirable or is he being proactively defensive?
That's what it is. That's
what's
up
I
with
think.
The timing on this whole thing,
right before the election.
Trump might get elected, so I better hedge
start
my bets here. Yeah,
there
exactly.
you go. Meta, listen to this one. Do you know this one? Meta represents 50% of all the social media lobbyists. There's a lot of social media out there. Twitter has
that
off the top of my head. Twitter has something like 7 lobbyists. Zuckerberg has like 77. I think X has 4 actually, but Facebook has like 77. 50% of all the lobbyists. So it's likely that he's afraid that the hearings for election interference will come underway in the Trump administration. And my response is to that: don't worry about it. Nobody ever gets their due. From the left, Hillary bleaches servers, bills on the tarmac.
Right. No, you're right. You're right.
Obama administration, countless. Don't worry about it, Zuck. You'll be fine.
Well, and the other thing too is that he acts like the federal government told him that. Oh, I was afraid, so I had to do this. No. You just mentioned it. He's got 70 lobbyists. That means he's got like 700 attorneys over there that can tell him what the Constitution says in the First Amendment. Right. By the way, a 12-year-old could have told him that. You know what, Dad? We've got freedom of speech here. This thing in the First Amendment, right? Because I just took this class. First day of class today, they taught me this. You might want to read it. And then he could just, and also I'm a social media platform, so people can post whatever they want because it's a billboard. And by the way, I'm protected. There's special laws to protect me because I'm not a newspaper. I'm a bulletin board. And so all of these things were in play. He is not being noble whatsoever. Right. He could have stopped that back then. And he is a part of changing those election results, and now he doesn't say anything until 4 years later when the election is going to happen and the other guy looks like he's going to win.
There is a positive to come out of that, though. He is probably being inundated by the 3-letter acronym agencies to alter news that is being posted on Facebook as we speak and leading up to the election. So this,
agreed.
Yeah, this could put a fork in that. Hopefully.
Good. I hope so too.
But Google, looks like Google's as bad as ever. They're being under investigation right now for the antitrust. Are they actually being investigated for their censorship, or is it just antitrust, the monopoly thing? I know the monopoly thing, but their level of censorship continues like every day to astound me. More and more.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, the censorship thing is like we're saying, it's tied completely 100% correlated to our freedom. We've got one candidate that seems to want to lock down our communication ability, our ability to have freedom of speech, although she talks about freedom all the time. And then there's another one that actually took a bullet for it. So, I mean, it's hard to compare the two. It really is.
Right.
Even though I would say that if I had freedom of choice of who I could choose for president, I'd probably not choose either one of them.
Yeah, man, I certainly would not. But we don't have any real choice, so we're not really a democracy. I wanted to say something that just tickles me because I mentioned it on the show a couple of weeks ago when Mark was on about Google and my disdain for them. Well, the writing's on the wall. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, they're going down one way or the other because Elon Musk and OpenAI, the makers of ChatGPT, are both announcing the launching of their own free speech search engines. All right, who the hell's going to use Google when you got a free speech option?
That's hilarious, man.
Yeah,
For Google free speech option.
So, I mean, that makes my day. But all of this seems like, could you guys wait any longer? Could that pendulum actually go any further,
I mean,
before it starts swinging back?
When is it going to start to come our way?
Yeah.
My goodness, man.
Hopefully it is.
Hey,
go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh,
okay. Well, I have kind of a winding up one, kind of funny
Same.
about. Okay. Let me go ahead and throw mine out.
Mine's not funny though.
Oh, well, this is just mildly.
Okay.
But I saw the story just a couple of days ago about Fox News host Jesse Waters.
Oh, yeah.
In hot water. Oh, it was so
the whole
stupid. I did too. And I could have pulled up the YouTube video on it to show you what happened, but I just didn't bother with it. Well, he said, and he's speaking to Kamala's just lack of knowledge, lack of ethics, lack of everything. She's just so airheaded, but he says we don't know who she is because she stated no policies. What he said is so accurate, but he says it this way: we don't know who she is. We don't know what she believes. She's going to get paralyzed in the situation room when the generals will have their way with her. And
right.
Janine Pirro condemned his comment, saying, "I don't like that. Take that back." And Dana Perino, who's always the voice of reason, I love her, and she did the same thing. And highlighting her disapproval and stating Jesse Waters' name in full. And so the media made a big deal out of this, saying people will have their way with her, meaning sexually. He didn't mean it sexually. He means that she can't speak if she's not in front of a teleprompter any better than Joe Biden could. She doesn't know what she stands for.
She proved it last night in the Dana Bash interview. First off, I mean, she when she would answer these questions, she would be looking down,
which she had beforehand,
right? Yeah. And she wouldn't. She's looking down
at her notes.
It looked like she was looking at her notes. Her demeanor wasn't one of confidence. I also thought the visual was interesting because here she is next to Tim Walz.
Yeah, why did she bring the war hero with her? Oh, I mean, he skipped out on the war part. I mean,
they asked
the coach,
about that too.
The coach.
Well,
he was an assistant coach.
The optics aren't good on this, right? She can't stand on her own 2 feet. She looked tiny compared to Dana Bash and Tim Walz. That was another.
That's funny.
It is. You take a look at it again. He's towering over her. She fills up the whole screen. Dana Bash, when you talk to her, when you see Kamala, it's like there's all this space above her head, and next to Tim Walz, he's hulking compared to her. There was this attitude of non-joy, by the way. It seemed like a lot of stress. And when they were pressed with questions that were, why did you change your policies here? Those kinds of things. And why did you lie, Tim Walz, about your military experience? They waxed insult. And see, that's how the media is attacking us.
Oh, good Lord.
And so this is it is victim mentality. It is really something. But it was not.
Hey, folks, we had a connection problem there. Got cut off just the last couple minutes. So we'll say goodbye for Labor Day weekend. But we also are bringing you Mark Tennant's first AI tip. And he's got a little homework assignment for you. Get you started and change your life. Stay tuned.
Hey there, over 50, starting over friends. Mark Tennant here. If you weren't with us last week, Barry and I were hosting the program, and we were talking about a new feature starting this week that I was going to be a part of, and essentially it's going to be your weekly AI tip. About 2 minutes, we're going to give you something actionable. We'll run through it really quick, and then if you're watching this on video, you can go back, and then also I'll have the PowerPoint available for you in the show notes that you can download if you'd like. So let us get started and jump right in. I only have 2 minutes, so what is AI? In this case, we're talking about generative AI. And essentially why they call it that is because it generates things. And it's content that's created by machines at the direction of humans. And that content can be text, images, videos, charts, graphs, music, code, anything you want the AI to generate, it sure can generate for you. So how do you think about AI? Well, you would think about AI as your all-knowing, tireless sidekick. Right, I'll say that again. Your all-knowing, tireless sidekick, no coffee needed genius. And the way to go, your go-to AI know-it-all is going to be, for this particular course, the things we're going to be doing here is ChatGPT, because ChatGPT is known by so many people, and it's kind of the common chatbot, or if you will, the AI chatbot that you'll be talking with. And how you do that, you need to get an account. I went to perplexity.ai, which is a great search engine, AI powered, and I just said, hey, how do I create an account? So if you just go to OpenAI or just Google, how do I create an account with ChatGPT, it will tell you how. So essentially you pick your sign up method, you create your password, you verify your email, you put your phone in there so it can authenticate you, and then you just start working with ChatGPT. Now, I know people probably want to have it on their phones or on their tablets as well. So I recommend at first signing up with ChatGPT on your desktop at first, and then going to your selected app store, either the App Store for an iOS or the Google Play Store if you have an Android, and then you can just download the apps there and start using them on your phone or your tablet. So what's the best way to talk to AI? Well, it's called prompting. And prompting essentially is just a set of instructions, what you want the AI to do. So it's like talking to your all-knowing, tireless sidekick, no coffee needed genius. So text or voice, you can do it. And once you're going to start working with this a little bit more on your phones, you'll find the voice mode is so much fun to work with. And we'll get there. So exercise right now, open up ChatGPT for your paid version. By the way, it's $20 a month for the paid version, and it will be the best $20 a month you'll ever spend. But for these purposes, the free version will work as well. So this is what it looks like when you open the interface to ChatGPT. You can see at the arrow at the bottom, just start typing there. And what I want you to type is, first, 2 prompts. The first prompt is going to say, write a 500-word blog article on something work-related, something that you do at work, maybe a chore you have, or maybe the business you're in. Just have it write a 500-word blog article about that. Number 2, start a new chat after that, and then write a 500-word blog article about something personal. Well, maybe it's about a hobby, maybe you like cooking, maybe you want it to create a recipe for you, anything. So that's your assignment. Those 2 prompts, choose your own topic for each, have fun with it, and I want to hear from you. Let's celebrate ChatGPT together. And this is one of the images that generative AI created, and ChatGPT created this, and it's just essentially the prompt right there, and it creates these pictures. And we'll go into that more as the weeks go on. So I want to hear from you. Don't forget about your 2 assignments. Once again, your 2 assignments, you're going to have it write a blog post, a 500-word blog post for something work-related. Number 2, start a new chat and have it write a 500-word blog post on something personal. I want to hear questions. I want to hear comments, suggestions, anything you have. Mark at marktennant.net. We're here, and we will see you next week, and take care.